Hello, DMFF here, and before we start today's video, I want to shout out my patrons. And I have two of them. My two VIP DMFFers are Kais0 and Kmel3170, my own wife. Thank you so much for the support. It means so much to me and helps me keep creating all these wonderful videos that you all enjoy. If you want to support me as well, go ahead and check out my Patreon, which will be found in the link down in the description down below. Also, while you're at it, why not subscribe? Hit that like button and ding that bell so then you can be notified of my future videos upcoming. Anyway, thank you so much to all of you, including all of you, the viewers. Without any of you, I would not have this channel. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you all have a great day.
Hello, fellow Planeswalkers, and welcome to my new deck tech. This deck is actually a deck that I have been evolving over the past 7 years, and I have had a deck tech for this deck before in the past. It has had some card changes and has had some name changes for the deck, but the core of the deck still remains. The new name of this deck is Amped Delirium Shadow. And as you could guess, this is a Death Shadow deck with a Delirium shell. So let's get right into it. Obviously, the namesake of the deck, Death Shadow, alongside 2 copies of Scourge of the Skyclaves, work very well together in tandem in order to get out some big boys by turn 3 or 4, with a lot of our shock and fetch lands getting us to the lower life totals fairly quickly. Both of these cards are incredible threats that, make the namesake of the deck. Alongside Death Shadow and Scourge of the Skyclaves, we do have a Delirium package in the deck. 4 copies of Dragon's Rage Channeler. Dragon's Rage Channeler is an excellent card that, though it is only a 1/1, it does have Surveil 1 whenever you cast a non-creature spell, which works incredibly well with the Delirium strategy. When Delirium is active, Dragon's Rage Channeler becomes a 3/3 flyer, which is absolutely incredible value for the deck. Grim Flayer we have 2 copies of, which was in the deck prior, but I believe we had 4 copies of it. It is a bear with Surveil 3 whenever it deals damage to a player, and when Delirium is active, it gets +2/+2, so it becomes a 4/4 with Trample for only 2 mana, which is incredible value. The other Delirium-specific card in the deck is actually a non-creature spell, which would be Traverse the Ulvenwald, which, while Delirium is not active, it is a 1-drop that searches for a basic land from your deck, adds it to your hand. When Delirium is active, it becomes a tutor for any creature or any land in your deck. So if you wanted to utilize Traverse the Ulvenwald to get a land, if you wanted to add like a different land to your deck that you really want to see, Traverse the Ulvenwald can do that for you. It's really honestly a slept upon card, and it's one of my favorite cards. It's not going anywhere. I know in the previous build we were running 3 copies of it, but now we are only running 2 copies of it, as we've, included some other value engine cards in the deck. Before we get onto those, though, let's get onto the pseudo-Delirium cards in the deck, and those would be Nethergoyf and Tarmogoyf. Nethergoyf is brand new to Modern Horizons 3 and is basically like a Tarmogoyf Light, as it only looks at your graveyard, but since we are playing a Delirium deck, it is absolutely incredible as it is a 1-drop. It can also cast itself from the graveyard, which is truly incredible. 2 copies of each Nethergoyf and Tarmogoyf to add a little bit of defense against stuff like Surgical Extraction in the main board or sideboard, as I have run into both several times in these, past few months and years even. Both incredible threats that are great for the deck. Now we will round out the creatures here, and we have a 1 copy of Scavenging Ooze in here to have some main board graveyard hate, and something that can pump itself, and something that can also control our life total a little bit better, that can be searched easily with Traverse the Ulvenwald, or can be ripped off the top of the deck with Amped Raptor. Amped Raptor, when it comes into play, gives you 2 energy, and then when you cast it from your hand, you may exile cards off the top of your library until you hit a non-land card. Then, while Amped Raptor is on the field, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost, but paying energy instead. Now we will round out the rest of the deck. We have a small package of removal, 2 Lightning Bolts, 2 Unholy Heats, and 1 Tar Fire. Lightning Bolt, 3 damage to anything. Enough said. Unholy Heat, one of the best removal spells in the game currently. Tar Fire, while it is basically a shock, it does have that tribal subtyping, which actually tribal does work with Delirium, and also our Goyfs, so it is perfectly suited for those strategies. For some added consistency, and also for some knowledge and additional types for our Delirium and Goyfs, is Mishra's Bauble. Free artifact spell that we can cast, and then take a look at the top of our library or our opponent's if we want to get some knowledge on what they have, or if we want to do it to ourselves, we can see if it's an opportune time to do a fetch land, and then draws us a card during the next upkeep. We also run 2 copies of Temur Battle Rage, so then that way we can make any of our threats a double striking, trampling monster. So that's great for closing out games. For some more knowledge and hand rip potential, we have 4 copies of Thoughtseize, which is, one of the best cards in the entirety of the format. We get to take a look at our opponent's hand, rip a non-land card out of it, throw it to the grave, and we take 2 damage, which is just incredible for this deck. To round out our hand rip package, we also have 2 copies of Inquisition of Kozilek. While Inquisition of Kozilek is not quite as strong as Thoughtseize, it does add additional hand rip cards to our deck, so then that way we can have a total of 6. That way, we can see it more often in our beginning turns, as playing a first turn Thoughtseize or a first turn Inquisition of Kozilek is very powerful in gaining knowledge and ripping a card from their hand. As a little utility card added to the deck, we have a single copy of Wish, which allows us to cast a card from our sideboard. This can come in clutch against certain matchups, like if we really need to have that surgical extraction in our main board, we can use Wish to surgical extraction something from their graveyard that will prove a threat to us later on. Finally, we do have 2 enchantments in the deck. We have a Footfall Crater, which can also help close out games and can be cycled away when we don't need it, adding an enchantment to our grave, alongside Underworld Breach, which can give us a little bit of Reanimator quality to the deck, and it also sends itself to the graveyard at the end of the turn, giving us another enchantment in the grave. It's absolutely incredible. Briefly, I will talk about the lands in the deck. The land base is filled with fetches and shocks as much as we can, essentially. So then that way we can get our life total low fairly quickly. You just don't want to go too aggressive with that into other aggressive decks. Now we will go over the sideboard of this deck. 1 copy of Cast Into the Fire for artifact hate, specifically the One Ring hate, also with a Forked Bolt attached to it. 2 copies of Surgical Extraction for graveyard hate, and 2 rip cards from our opponent's hand and deck on top of it. 3 Veil of Summer for blue and black hate. 2 Alpine Moon for the inevitable Eldrazi and Tron decks that will be in the format. 1 Ashiok Dream Render to render our opponents incapable of being able to search their library. 1 copy of Maelstrom Pulse to remove just about anything and takes down creature token strategies. 1 copy of Necromentia for combo strategies. 1 Toxic Deluge for solid removal. 1 Collector Oof, also for anti-one ring strategies, and 2 Turok Dread Cantors, as they are excellent cards alongside Amped Raptor. Amped Raptor can cheat it out. Then you can actually pay the mana cost for the kicker as opposed to paying the mana cost for Turok and the kicker. So it works really well with Amped Raptor. The deck is still quite competent and should put up a good fight in this current Modern Horizons 3 metagame. If you liked the deck, hit that like button, subscribe, and ding that bell for more content just like this. If you want, you may also find the list of the deck down in the down in the description below. It is linked to tappedout.net, and that is a place that you could go take a look at the list. You can upvote that list there as well if you so choose to. But anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.